Thank you all for coming today. Before we start, I want to ask you two questions. I'm going to show you two cars, and I want to know which one you'd rather drive. First, we have this beaten up, broken down car. Please raise your hand if you drive it. Surprising. Oh, surprising. Okay. Next, we have this modern, fast, sleek sports car. Please raise your hand if you drive this one. Oh, shocking. You're all fancy. Noted. Well, I'm hurt that you didn't choose the legendary, historic Pontiac Tempest. And not because I thought it looks good. I actually think Pontiac made some of the ugliest cars ever. I'm hurt because that was my grandfather's car. It's nostalgic. Maybe not in a good way. We drove that thing from Montreal to New York to North Carolina and back. Well, maybe minus the duct tape. When the duct tape came in, I thought he'd retire this thing. But no, he still drove it. He'd even drop me to summer camp in it. Duct tape holding the mirror together, muffler screaming, engine roaring. I would beg him to drop me down the street from camp, but he refused. He dropped me to the front, and the whole camp would hear him coming. It was so embarrassing. But the sports car, I get why you chose it. Look at it. Probably goes from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. While the Tempest probably never even gets to 100. I don't blame you. But how's the engine? Or the brakes? Does it have a sound system? I bet none of us asked those questions. We just saw it and assumed it was great. See, that's a familiar feeling for me. Because most of my life, I was seen as that sports car. Big, strong, handsome. High achiever, successful, when in fact, I felt empty inside a lot of the time. To others, I was that shiny sports car. But inside, I felt like a broken down Tempest. But to understand why, we have to go back to the start. Hi, everyone. My name is Tychon Carter-Newman. I'm born in Montreal and grew up mostly in Toronto. See, most of my life, I struggled to fit in. And not fitting in is even more daunting in your childhood. As a child, I want to feel loved, seen, and included. That's not something that I felt. Not feeling that is, I remember that most in school. More notably, grade 4, when I started French immersion. I grew up in a low-income, diverse community. But when I went to immersion, I clearly stood out. I was the only black kid in my class, and most of my classmates came from white, two-parent, middle-class homes. I had no friends, and I would get suspended all the time for being oppositional and disruptive, and I didn't really connect with anyone. Not connecting is especially tough on days like Valentine's Day, when you want to feel loved and appreciated. On this day, I'd feel alone, misunderstood, and worthless. While my classmates would pass out Valentines to each other, I'd be lucky to get one from the teacher. But on this particular year, there's a glimmer of hope. There's this girl in my class, and I had a crush on her, and I'm pretty sure she had a crush on me. She's the smartest girl in the class who would laugh, banter, and flirt. I'm pretty sure this is what young love felt like. So one day, on the bus ride home, I mustered up the courage to ask her to be my girlfriend. And she looked at me and said, I like you, Tychon, but I can't be your girlfriend. You're black. To this day, I can still hear those words, and I can still feel the heartbreak. I didn't realize how much those words would go on to affect me. I could barely get to school, and there's a lot of days where I could barely get there, kind of like a broken down Tempest. As I went to high school, the trend continued. As I went through puberty, I had acne, and I was bullied and called names like Pizza Face and Bumpy Johnson. Even my grandma at home would look at me and say, why do you have so many bumps on your face? I would laugh now, but it was traumatic. I just wanted to fit in. I never felt like I did. Eventually, this came to a breaking point. At 19, I was arrested and charged with theft. Why did I do this? Probably because I had low self-esteem. I wanted to be seen, and I wanted to impress my friends and fit in. It was like I was on a path to destroy my life, kind of like crashing the Tempest. But there was one thing that saved me. That thing was basketball. The basketball court was a place where I could safely express my emotions without feeling judged. Basketball was the place where I experienced consistent success. MVPs, championships, making the provincial team. It's where I finally felt validated. This is where I was seen as that sports car. Awards and accolades equaled external validation, and it felt good, and I wanted more. Basketball was also a place where I started to meet girls and start dating. After being rejected by them in the earlier years, basketball was a way I could win them over. This chase for external validation continued into university, where I studied tirelessly to be on the Dean's Honor List, an academic All-Canadian, all while being a varsity athlete. I did my master's, got a job in my field, started making great money, bought a nice car, but still, none of those things made me happy. I went from job to job, dating person to person, looking for that next thing, that next level of achievement. What was it? What was missing? On that journey and on that search, an interesting opportunity presented itself to me. I was asked to be on a show called Big Brother Canada. For those of you that don't know, Big Brother Canada is a reality TV show where a bunch of contestants live in a house and try to evict each other for a cash prize. So I did it. Moved into the house, and no phones, no link to the outside world, no music, no family, no friends, not even a window. Yet, you're being monitored 24/7 by cameras. My life literally became a TV show. 69 days later, I win, and I end up being the first Black winner of the Canadian series. And it's a bigger deal than I would have ever imagined. I re-enter the world knowing absolutely nothing, and come to find fame, fans, and a fortune, all seemingly overnight. People would stop me in the street and ask me, "Oh my God, are you Tychon? Can I get a picture with you?" I won more money at one time than I ever had in my life. I'd open my social media to hundreds of notifications. I'm a star. I should be happy, I told myself. But I wasn't. It was that empty feeling. It crept back in. Sure, there are moments of joy, but they're overshadowed by questions of, "What's next?" And statements like, "Strike while the iron's hot." What did that even mean? Who would want to touch a hot iron? What could I do now that could top winning Big Brother? Were these people just going to forget about me if I didn't do something soon? All these questions started to make me feel anxious, and the happiness that I felt quickly started to fade. How could what appeared to be the happiest moments of my life feel so low? Some days, I could barely get out of bed. Others, I would cry for seemingly no reason. Yet, I'd be at events, on podcasts, on social media, smiling, pretending to be the happiest person in the world. There it was. I was that shiny sports car on the outside, but a broken down Tempest on the inside. I felt empty, like an imposter. Is this what life is? Why do I feel so much pain? Would it be easier to not be alive? After asking myself these questions, I knew there was a serious problem. External validation does not bring happiness. External validation is not sustainable. External validation is out of my control. Not the next job or the next car or the next relationship could make me feel happy. It had to come from, there was no amount of external validation that could remedy the loneliness I felt in my childhood. It had to come from inside. And this is where I started that journey. How do you start and where? For me, it was talking to someone. And not just someone, many people. I got a consistent therapist, I saw my doctor, and I got a life coach. I needed as many perspectives as possible. And they all came to the same conclusion. My pain was coming from my mind. I was the architect of my own misery. I was tying my self-worth to external validation. And I honestly felt like there was a voice in my head or an invisible figure constantly following me around and telling me that you suck you're an imposter, and everybody knows it. But I thought to myself, if I could be the architect of my own misery, could I be the architect of my own happiness? Yes, you can. I can. One thing I had to accept was that nobody cares as much as I think they do. Yes, I have a platform and an audience watching me, but they have their own lives and their own problems. That 4 seconds someone spends judging me while scrolling is followed by them thinking about a problem in their own lives. How selfish was I to think that all these people spent all this time thinking about Tychon? So it became clear I needed to focus on loving myself. Self-love and self-care are about the relationship that you have with yourself. The most important relationship that you'll have in your life is the one with yourself. And there are many ways to do that. One that stood out to me at the beginning was meditation. See, I thought meditation was for those people that wear strange clothes, hum, and drink those weird teas. But actually, 64% of people say that meditation has significantly helped them in their lives. Let me show you something. Everybody close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold it. Out through the mouth. Open your eyes. How do you feel? I know it's not meditation, but we just took a moment for ourselves to see how we're feeling. Imagine you drove your car all the time and never took it to the mechanic or washed it. It'd probably look like the Tempest. But seriously, we just took a moment for ourselves and a moment to be still and a moment to recalibrate. Meditation, for this reason, is something that really helped me. Beyond meditation, I need to include other self-care tools in my routine. If I'm going to drive this car, I better have the tools to take care of it. One of those tools was practicing gratitude. I'd write in my gratitude journal almost daily, highlighting the things that I was grateful for. My warm bed, my 2 legs, a meal to eat at night. See, often we get so caught up in the things that we don't have. But when we focus on the things that we do have, it can bring us a lot of peace. Lastly, I'll share one of the biggest things that helped me was my change in mindset. More notably, how I spoke to myself, the people I surrounded myself by, and what I fed my mind. We are so much more kind and compassionate to ourselves when we treat ourselves like a friend. If that friend was having a bad day, you'd say, don't worry, it'll be all right tomorrow. That friend got rejected, you'd probably say, you're still amazing, it doesn't matter. But if these situations were me, I'd probably go right back to the I suck, and I'm an imposter, and I'm not good enough. And I needed to change this, because who's gonna love me if I don't love myself? Then, who I surrounded myself with. I had people in my life who didn't make me feel good, and the relationships didn't feel genuine. But I kept them around because they always had been there. But they would doubt my goals, my dreams, and question the ways in which I wanted to grow. I had to cut those people out and focus on the relationships that were aligned with the person I was becoming. And then, what I fed my mind. Have you heard the expression, you are what you eat? Yeah, it's the same for our minds. We are what we consume. So if you're constantly watching twerk videos, slap battles, and negative global news, there's a high chance your life will be consumed by these things. And I'm not saying not to watch these things. I'm just saying that balance is important. I noticed how much different I felt when I started consuming positive content. That meant books, podcasts, documentaries, and positive social media content that was aligned with the person that I wanted to be. After doing some of these things, I noticed such a difference in change and so much growth in my life. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I still have dark days, but the trend is going in a positive direction. I actually noticed it most when I applied for this big host position the other day, and I didn't get it. The old me would have said, you suck, you're not good enough, and you could have done so much better in the audition. But today's me said, I did my best, maybe I wasn't what they're looking for, and that this rejection is just a redirection, growth. But the tools that I'm suggesting may not be the exact tools that'll work for you. Just like a keto diet and workout plan might give me six-pack abs, it might not do the same for you. But I urge you to try, explore, get to know yourself. Because in today's world, We need it. In the midst of economic and political crises, and just after a global pandemic, our mental health, maintaining our mental health, is as important as it's ever been. Today, suicide is a leading cause of death for youth in Canada aged 18 to 34. We've watched Twitch, Robin Williams, Kate Spade, and many others all commit suicide while externally appearing to be happy and joyful. Their stories remind us of the profound impact that mental struggles can have, even on people who seem to have it all. Let their legacies remind us to prioritize our own self-care while breaking the stigma surrounding mental health. So promise me that you'll do the work, whether it's practicing self-care tools, seeing your doctor or therapist, or even getting a life coach. Promise me that you won't go through life pretending to be okay while struggling on the inside. It's okay not to be okay, and there's help out there if you look for it. So the Tempest or the sports car? The car I'm choosing is for the journey, because mental health is a journey and not a destination. My happiness isn't somewhere down the road tied to fame or fortune. It's a choice. The car I'm choosing is resilient, reliable, and safe for the journey. No matter how low the muffler's hanging or how much duct tape is holding the mirror together, it's not about how it looks on the outside. The car I'm choosing is the Tempest. My grandfather loved that car. Which car are you choosing? Thank you.